So, welcome to another episode of In Between Homes with Lucy. Today, I have the pleasure to welcome Shannon. Shannon is a beautiful soul that I met a few years ago online, and then we had the occasion to meet twice, once in Amsterdam, once in Marrakesh a few days ago. Shannon's purpose in life is to share, to support, and guide people to their deepest love and light within. Her intention is really to inspire people to know that their greatest love lies within, to adapt their internal stories, to release all patterns, dream wildly, and experience their own inner freedom. I am so excited to have you today, Shannon, on this podcast. And we are going to talk about love, love with yourself and love with someone else. Welcome, Shannon.
Thank you. Thank you. The pleasure to be here.
Yes. So, can you tell me, like 10 years ago, more or less, what was
Mhm.
your life? How was life going on for you?
Sure. So basically, 10 years ago, I was already in the Netherlands. I came to the Netherlands from the United States 20 years ago. And so in the first 10 years, I was working very hard and I was able to, I met a Dutch man in the Netherlands, obviously, and I ended up getting married, had a daughter, and unfortunately he passed away. So 10 years ago, I was really in the middle of going through that very difficult experience of having lost what I thought then was the love of my life and really having a difficult time just trying to find my place in the world. And I, even with a 4-year-old daughter at the time, was wondering, should I stay in the Netherlands where her family is from her father? Shall I go to Spain where my family is from my father and my stepmom that I grew up with? Or shall I go back to the United States where I also have a lot of family and I lived a big part of my life. So I was really in transition 10 years ago and going through a really, really difficult time. So that's where I was, to be honest.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. And I
Mhm.
understand that your heart was kind of sharing between three locations. So how did
Mhm.
you make the decision? Because for most of people, sometimes having the family in one place is kind of what is holding them back to maybe move abroad, to go in another country. Maybe they are going to
Mhm.
miss the Sunday meal with the family and all of that. So how has been for you this, how did you make the decision?
Yeah. So that was really a process. I had to really look at the three different options individually and think, in the United States, I have lots of opportunities for a career and to do a lot of things. I have my mother's side of the family, a lot of friends there. And I knew I could really build my career. I had an excellent career when I was able to come to Europe through an American company. And the best job, let's say, if you consider success in terms of finances and kind of prestige, it was the best job I'd ever had. And I knew that I could go back and do something with that. Um, but I also knew that going back to the United States was going to mean more or less compromising my wish to have a balanced life. And I identified my values actually later, but I didn't consciously realize that balance was one of them. And in the United States, it's really difficult sometimes to have a balanced life, family and work. And so that was one of the reasons I decided not to go back to the United States, even though I had family and friends there, and could be successful in terms of my career. I also thought in Spain that it would be a little bit difficult because the work culture is also similar to the US. And I thought, yes, my family is there, but I'm basically having to worry about, Isabella and how is she going to adapt to the culture. She was 4 years old. And what I realized is that it's not so far away go to my family in Spain. And that actually the Netherlands, um, I sort of fell in love with it all over again. Because at first the company brought me to the Netherlands and it was just the adventurous curiosity. I've never been to the Netherlands. Let's check it out, at that age where in my early 30s where I just thought, oh, everything is exciting and I'm curious and let's go somewhere I've never been. And even though I don't know how it really is to be there, and it was really exciting. I never really made a conscious choice that I wanted to come to the Netherlands or to stay here. And in this case, in the decision-making process, I really, really did basically, yes, fall in love with the Netherlands again in the sense that it's a really good, balanced life. And I tell Dutch people when they ask me, why do you choose to stay here? I say it's the priority on well-being is really high, and that's very, very important to me. And so I knew that for myself and my daughter, also raising her as a single mom, even though I wouldn't have the support system in the US or in Spain directly with me, I did have friends that I sort of adopted as family here in the Netherlands. And so I really realized that it would be the best life actually for me and for my daughter to stay here. And I have to say that I feel I really did make the right decision because that is really true. I feel very well protected and safe and comfortable, and that it really is a balanced lifestyle here between work and your personal life. And there's all kinds of things, and they say that Dutch children are the happiest children in the world. So that's also a good point. But I'm very happy with my decision, actually.
Oh, wow. Thank you. Thank you for breaking down the decision making process, because often in life, some people think, oh, maybe we don't have a choice. And then you
Mhm.
have too many choices, and then you don't want to miss out in one, one opportunity or the other. But when you go down into what is important for you, what is the meaning of things, and you could really see the pro and cons in each location, really thinking about what I heard from you is like this harmony between the personal life and the work life, and also for your
Mm.
daughter as a single solo mom to be able to have a safety and protection and all of that. So
Yes.
so thank you. I think it's really important to for the people who are listening to see that you didn't miss on anything. It's like you make a choice from a place of love from your
Mhm.
heart, and you follow like a country where maybe you didn't have your own family, like blood family, but then you had something as a chosen family from your friend and all of that. It's a beautiful story that when we live abroad, we start choosing our family. It doesn't mean that we
Mhm.
don't love the rest of the family, but it's a new combination in this new structure. So, how are you today? Like 10 years ago, a lot happened, but today I can see in front of me a very shining person. So, uh, can you tell us a bit more what has been happening for you maybe the last few years, and in which state of mind are you today? Have you?
Mhm. Yes. So I just want to tell a quick little brief uh, story about the time during COVID, right? Because everyone was having such a difficult time, and I was in a job that was super interesting and exciting, traveling a lot before COVID. I did have a partner that I thought, well, I had in many respects been quite unlucky in love, and I had a partner at that time who really loved me consistently, and I thought, oh, that's good, and it's a good friend, and that's good enough. And so I was basically settling and I was traveling. I thought I had sort of a dream job of traveling all over in South America, which I really loved because of my Spanish and Portuguese, and in the US and all over. It was a super exciting job. And my partner took care of my daughter. So it seemed really perfect just before COVID. And actually, just before COVID, certain things happened that I realized, okay, this is really not the love of my life, this partner. So I decided to break up. And the one thing he told me is, um, you have this incredible wall up, because I realized later, because of all the pain I had been through in abandonment things in my childhood, and feeling unlucky in love. So I really felt that I was basically in a situation where I needed to make a decision that, was I going to really, really settle? And I decided not to. And I decided, okay, I have this wall that he told me I have. And even though we're breaking up, and I just want to be happy within myself. So I wanted to break down the wall. And I started on a journey of, I'd always been since more than 20 years ago working on myself in different ways, self-development, but I wanted to go deeper. And so I was working with a coach in a program where I really had the opportunity to go deep within and really discover who is Shannon and how can I wanted to blossom. I wanted to break down that wall. That was my only purpose for doing this coaching program. And I remember it was really funny because right before COVID, 3 months before, um, I decided to break up with my partner at that time. I thought, okay, I think I'd rather just be alone for the rest of my life. And I even bought a really small bed because I thought, okay, I'm in my early 50s. I'm through more or less menopause, and I'm just not interested in all that trouble anymore. I just want to have fun and live my life and really connect with myself and and feel who I really am and be happy. That was my only purpose. And what I realized in that time during COVID, I spent a couple of nights a week online in this coaching program, deeply connecting with myself and with the other people in the training, not the training, but the coaching program. And I realized towards the end of that year of 2020 that I was the happiest I'd ever been up until that point. And now I'm even much happier. So I remember my boss at that time just saying, "Oh, you broke up with your partner and it's COVID. You're alone with your daughter, and I feel really sorry for you." And it must be really hard to be on your own COVID at home and taking care of your daughter by yourself. And I said, "Oh no, I'm the happiest I've ever been in my life." And it was so funny. He just looked at me like I was from another planet. I think, okay, I don't know what you're talking about, but I just remember feeling alive for the first time. I really felt like I was discovering, what I really loved and connecting deeply with myself and with others. And I could dream wildly. I learned how to dream wildly, and it felt really strange at first because I thought, oh, that's impossible to dream all these things about even potentially a relationship. I wasn't really interested in a relationship, but I thought if I would be interested in a relationship, I would love it to look like this. Even if it felt impossible, dreaming wildly just opened a lot of doors, and most importantly, just realizing that um, I it was really confronting. It was like a turning point, a huge transformation point for me to realize that I didn't actually love my own company when I was going through this process before I said that to my boss. And that was about half a year before. So then I realized that, and I thought, okay, I need to realize what I really love and what I really want to do. And so I just um, started. What she suggested is, well, maybe you should just date yourself, because I was always interested in making everybody else happy, and I didn't even know what I really loved. And I just thought, well, I really, really love going for walks on the beach, and I love Latin dancing, and I love beautiful food. And so that's what I started doing, and I really came alive. And I realized that I wanted to explore further for myself, and eventually I really opened the door to the possibility of a relationship. Because to be honest, a friend of mine, we went on vacation, super fun friend of mine, with my daughter and her friends. So it was four girls on the summer vacation of after COVID, and I decided to go online just for fun. Just my friend was doing it and she was telling me about it, and I thought, she's so beautiful, and why does she even need to be online? She should like have people knocking at her door every moment. Um, but then I realized, yeah, it's not that easy. So let's just try it, and then you can see a little bit more about people. And I was just curious. So I did eventually put myself online, and with a completely new perspective, and really releasing attachment to any certain outcome. I just thought maybe I'll just meet someone that's interesting, see what it's curious, see what it's like to get to know people. And then I realized, well, it might be nice just to have dinner and have a friend. And I started connecting it to my wild dream that I thought, opening up myself to the idea of, well, maybe I would potentially like a relationship at some point. So let's just start with friendships and see how it goes. And that's more or less how it went. And this was very much combined with the continuous self-development. And what I really focused on first is realizing first and foremost that the greatest love lives within me. And that was my foundation. And that made me feel that there was nothing missing within me and that I didn't need to be fulfilled by anyone else, that I just needed to realize what I loved and do what I love and connect with people. And then I was opening myself up to this relationship, which I did eventually end up, well, I met tons and tons and tons of frogs in the process, and even
Wait,
two people. Oh, yes.
yeah, wait. I just want
Okay.
to, before we know about that, I just want to hit back on what you explained because it started like the turning point, at least for the relationship with yourself, started when your ex-partner tell you like you have a wall. And
Hmm.
then your intention was to break it down, go
Hmm.
into a coaching program and start dating yourself. You start to
Yes.
discover what is safe love. Because for you, it was not about finding a partner because you even bought a single bed. Can you believe it?
Yes,
It's like, oh, my life is over, at least for the couple side. I'm just going to have a one single bed for the rest of my life.
I
And
did.
you were 50. Like, how I'm sure you're not the only one, especially at this age where you feel like now it's over. Now it's like
Hmm.
nothing else can happen. Maybe I'm at the other side of life where, I have more an expiration date than life into it. And I really
Yeah.
admire how you turn this into more. No, I started to really embrace who I am. I started to feel uh, more love and still more happiness and all those things like that you have never experienced before. So hearing you today, we really can see that it's not because you didn't have it up until now that you can't have this next level of feelings and emotions and happiness and joy and all of this. So
Hmm.
I see that in your story and thank you so much for sharing all the steps. I think it's also encouraging people to remove the stress. You say it's like your friend was on those dating apps. You were like, oh, maybe I do that for fun. Maybe I will meet people. Maybe it's going to be a friendship and nothing else. So when we remove a lot of pressure from our shoulders, we also encourage more the beauty of life, the opportunities. So it also
Yes.
helps to remove the stress. We do things from a more enjoyable and fun part. That doesn't mean that we are not serious, doesn't mean that we fail on something, doesn't mean that we are not coherent. It's even more, it's like we are opening ourselves to more. And I really
Yes.
really appreciate that because I think a lot of people, and myself included in the past, when it comes to dating, is like, oh my God, I need to find the one. I need to, it's also because at my age, it's like we have just few years left for if I want a kid or not. So there's all this pressure that society tell you, oh, you fail your life. If I 35, you were not married and have kids. Well,
Mm.
I'm 36 and I'm still not there, but I don't think I fell in life. But we have this pressure and on our shoulder that okay, it has to happen maybe this year, next year, it's like time is really compressed. And when we have time compressed, I guess it's a kind of similar feeling that people around their 50s, especially women that are experiencing menopause where the whole body change, we feel like time is smaller, shorter.
Mm.
So it's really a beautiful shift to kind of change a perspective on time and say, okay, I still have few years. Opportunity can come. I still have enough time to do it. So now tell us, currently, are you married? Are you having some love in your life? What is the story?
Yes, I really would love to tell you that because first and foremost, I'm the happiest I've ever been. And in a few weeks, I'm turning 56, and I really feel the most youthful. And I've never cared that much about anti-aging or anything like that. I've never worried about it or thought about it or thought I need to buy special creams or anything like that. But uh, people tell me that I look 10 years younger all the time. Um, but that's not important to me. What it is, I think the magic ingredient is just being happy and carefree and relaxed and easygoing. And a couple of the things you said are really, really important that I want to highlight because at your age, at 36, I was in a 10-year period between 30 and 40 or almost 40, yeah, where I was trying to get over a person who I thought was the love of my life. And I just couldn't accept that he broke it off. I just thought we were just so perfect together. I just couldn't accept it. And then I got sent to the Netherlands during, I think I was 34 or so. And I dated a little bit, and then finally, eventually, I did meet my husband. And thanks to a very direct Dutch colleague of mine, she just said, "You need to start. How long has it been that you broke up? Almost 10 years. You really need to stop talking about that guy and be open to other things." And I just thought, okay, that's a very Dutch direct thing to say, but actually it was true. So that is what I did. And I did open myself up a little bit. I met my husband, my first husband, um, and we got married when I was 39 and I had my daughter when I was 40. So it's definitely never too late. And the doctor said my body was functioning biologically as a 33-year-old when I was pregnant at 39. So it's definitely possible. And I actually am super happy because I lived a very full life career wise and friendship wise and stuff, even though I suffered those 10 years in my heartbreak, let's say. Um, and I sort of thought I would never really meet someone like that. And even my first husband, I must be honest, I didn't quite love him the way I did that person from the 10 years that I couldn't get over. But what I wanted to highlight is that today, let's say when I open myself up to meeting new people and the whole carefree part of it um, is, I would say, one of the most, if I could think of three top ingredients to having a fun experience of dating, it's the releasing of the expectations. Because I also, before this last dating experience I had, I have been on dating apps, I must say, probably three times in my life in the last, let's say, 15, 20 years before that. And it was always with this pressure of like, oh, am I going to meet the one, or is this going to be him? And you're kind of uptight. And I remember one time, one of them, I wasn't that interested. And I thought, I don't want him to think anything. So I wore like a turtleneck. It was always with such a pressure and discomfort. And this time it was completely different. And again, also in the 50s, you mentioned that you think it's kind of over. Um, that's why the taking the pressure off that I have to meet the one this time and just being open to and trusting because of the work I had done on myself, um, that really helped to release the pressure of finding the one and just being open to friendship, like I mentioned earlier. And therefore, I did end up meeting Marcel 3 years ago. And again, like I said, after probably 20, 30 people that were interesting in all different levels of not so nice experiences and nice experiences, but none of them the one and or someone that I wanted to develop a friendship with. And with Marcel, even that, he was also going through a breakup at that time, and he didn't send me a message back. And normally, in pride that we have, if we're confident and strong women, we think like, oh, if they're not going to answer me, forget it. But it's also these small little decisions, following your gut feeling instead of your head, which tells you sometimes like, oh, he didn't send me a message back, I'm forget about him. And I just had a feeling that he would just be a nice person to get to know. So I sent him a message again, even though he hadn't responded to my last one. And we have this discussion. He thought that I didn't respond to his last message. So anyway, but it's just showing the maturity and the really listening to your intuition. Um, and we knew quite fast. He said immediately he knew, and he sent a photo of our first date together at the beach. It was during Corona time, and we had Coronas on the beach, and we took a photo, and he sent it to his friends and said, "This is her. She's it." And so it developed quite quickly because we're in our 50s, of course, and you know what you want. But for me, I was really shocked that it developed much faster. I just thought, okay, he's actually in the end everything I really wanted. I had made a list during my self-development time. And so today I'm really, really, really incredibly happy and living the best years of my life. And I don't know if this is appropriate during your podcast, but even on the I'll say it a little bit more mildly, on the intimacy level, um, I really thought, I'm just not interested and I don't care about that. And honestly, it was also for him like one of the number one things he told me in the beginning. He just said, he had been married for a long time. And he said, I've had a lot of pressure put on me, and that's not my primary purpose in a relationship. And I need affection and love, and I love to talk and cuddle. But, the intimacy thing, I've had a lot of pressure, and I just want to have zero expectations. So going back to the theme of the not having high expectations, the fact that we removed all expectations, I get chills, made it actually for both of us, our life and our intimacy together is the best it's ever been and like 10 times better than either one of us have ever experienced. And we believe that the number one thing that has allowed that to be is the 100% removal of expectations on both sides and being open and vulnerable in the communication about it. So just communication in every aspect in life together. We're married now for 6 months. Um, and I'm truly, truly the happiest I've ever been. And he says that as well. And we communicate that to each other every day. So that's where I am today.
Wow, wow. If this is not a message of hope for love to everyone, I don't know what is it. For me, it's definitely knowing you now for a few years, I can see that it's possible. And when you have role models like Shannon and Marcel, when you see it's possible, your deep inner belief it's become, oh, it's if it's possible for Shannon, it's also possible for me. And there are two things you mentioned. One question, quick, is you mentioned okay, no expectation, but you have a list of what you wanted. Did you tick the
Yes.
boxes?
Yes. So one of the exercises I did when I was in the process of not even like really thinking about that I would have a partner, but if I would like to have a partner, I would like them to have these characteristics. And I wrote about 30 or 40, 35 characteristics from integrity, fun, adventurous, kind, open-minded, likes cultures, these kinds of characteristics. Um, and I wrote a lot of them. And then I graded them. The ones that were absolute musts for me, non-negotiables were ones. And the ones that were, I really, really would love that were twos. And the ones that were nice to have, but okay, I can live without it, were threes. And I would say that 2/3 of them were in the ones. And then a smaller portion was in the twos, and then a very few were in the threes. So actually, I had quite in that case, somewhat high expectations. But like I said, there were things like, honest and open and things that are not super difficult, but basic things that in the past I just had ignored because, oh, that man was really handsome. So yeah, he doesn't communicate very well, but that's okay. And so he really did tick all the boxes. And we looked at it together because I put it away in a drawer, met him, and we got to know each other for a few months. And then I just looked at him one day and I just thought, wow, he's just amazing. And I said, I made this list that of things I wanted. Let's look at it together because I don't even remember what's on the list. And so we opened this notebook that I had with the list in it, and he was in shock. He's like, yeah, I I guess I do see where I really meet all of those characteristics. So that was also really, really exciting. And it's also shows, um, that it's important to have the vision and to express what you want, because in the past I just thought I had to just settle. I didn't even think about what I really wanted. I just thought, oh, that's good enough. And now just really dreaming wildly. I want someone fun, adventurous, kind, passionate, and good communication, and that we really have a close connection. All these things that I actually hadn't really had all of those before, but they're not super outrageous, crazy things. But for me, it felt like dreaming wildly, traveling together, and all these different things. And then letting it go with what I still today do when I wish for something is just say, have grateful expectations without attachment, and believe it's this or something better still, and then just letting it go. I
Yes.
think that's been one of my, let's say, secret ingredients to having been able to come to this point.
Yeah. I think it's exactly what you say, having the vision, creating the list, not being scared of putting too much and having high standards, because even 30
Mhm.
characteristic, one person have it, of course. So we have a tendency to say, okay, no, and if I put too many criteria, actually I will have just one person, but how many people you need? so so don't, if anyone, and to myself included, more we are precise about what we desire and what we would love to find in us to share our life with, not being scared of having a long list, and then let it go of it. I think this is an amazing advice from Shannon, to really let go as well, put it in the drawer, live your life, and experience it. There's one thing I saw you mentioned earlier is, the stories we tell into our head, and especially when Marcel didn't answer to your message, the story from you was, or maybe doesn't care, but then you kind of didn't react on that. You shifted into, no, I'm going to send him a message. But in his head, the story was a totally different story. It was, oh, Shannon didn't answer to me, so I don't answer. So, it thinks that it's a really nice example of two people, two different stories. So
Mhm.
sometimes you need to let go of a potential ego or a part of you that, no, I
Mhm.
didn't do that, so I'm not going to do it. And then, maybe ask another question, because to reconnect, maybe if you feel it, if you have a deep inner intuitive, like, okay, let's just ask, because you never know what's going on in someone else's life at that moment. Maybe you just
Mhm.
didn't see your message, maybe something bigger happened, and it's maybe not because of you. So I really love, maybe you want to share a little bit more about the stories that we may kind of have crazy in our head, and then, like, maybe he's cheating on me, maybe he doesn't care about me, all those stories that we
Mhm.
may experience as women, or maybe it's also men stuff, but as women,
Mhm.
that we are getting crazy sometimes, but the other side of the partner or the person we are talking is not living the same story at all.
Exactly. I'm really glad you bring that up because it's such a huge thing I've experienced and realized with a lot of people around me. And I think women and men, we always have these stories that we're making up in our head, exactly like you say. And very often it's not the case. And I think that even in longer term relationships, that might even be, if I would guess, and based on my previous experiences that were more difficult, I thought all kinds of stuff and I didn't say it. And maybe what was going on in the other person's mind was something totally different. And what I definitely do with Marcel now is we have something that we learned from Brene Brown actually, and that is that when something happens, we listen to this on a podcast. We're like, oh, that's really good. And she and her husband do this all the time, and they say, you know, when something happens and they make a certain assumption about it, they'll come to the other when they are feeling calmer, and then just saying, you know, this happened, and the story I'm telling myself about the fact that you came home and, you know, didn't say, come immediately give me a kiss, something super simple like that, is that you're just not feeling the connection with me as much anymore at the moment. And maybe they just had a really difficult day at work and they're like, oh no, I'm sorry that you feel that way, but actually this happened. And so it's just being open and vulnerable, so important. And I think that for me, from my experience, it's coming from a place of deep self-love that I took the time to build the foundation in the beginning. And it's an absolute most critical ingredient for me, at least, in having the most successful relationship, was starting with loving and connecting with myself, because then I can, from that place of deep love. And I always, even we had a small little breakup with my boyfriend, or at the time it was my boyfriend, right after a couple of months with Marcel. And I kept repeating to myself, I love, honor, and respect myself. You know, I love, honor, and respect myself. And I went on this walk. I remember I was experiencing anger and frustration and all these things. And I just kept repeating that to myself over and over. And that also helped me to be able to later on, and still today, when something happens, be able to go back to that place of loving, honoring, and respecting myself, and being open and honest and saying, you know, the story I'm telling myself. And in the case of when he didn't send the message, it was coming from a place of deep love, you know, because I had nothing to lose. I just thought, my gut is telling me that he's a nice guy, and that even though my head is doing the ego thing, what you just said, oh, he didn't answer me, he's not interested, or he's maybe talking to several other people. And I have that story many times. So he's not interested in me. And, but I just followed my intuition, and from a place of deep self-love, knowing that I had nothing to lose if he ignored it or answered no, well, I'm actually seeing somebody else, then I could let it go. And in the past, I would take it personal, think there's something wrong with me. But from a place of love, you just think, well, I have nothing to lose. And if it's not him, trusting and that it will be somebody else. So really, that really works well. Telling, because it's very, very, very often, and even still throughout the last 3 years of relationship and 6 months of marriage with Marcel, we we have really open communication. We find that about half the time, the story we're telling ourselves is not true.
Yes.
So it's giving the other person the opportunity to express how they're feeling it and seeing it. And I think that might be one of the top ingredients in our successful
Yeah.
relationship.
We are getting so much top ingredients today, and I'm sure it's going to be beneficial for a lot of people. One thing I'm sensing from everything you are saying is really living from a abundant place and abundant love within yourself.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry,
So
the connection just dropped off a
yeah.
tiny bit there.
So what I'm sensing today is really living from a place of abundance, really trusting, really knowing yourself, this safe, not safe, but safe love. Sorry. So what I'm sensing today is really this abundance, living abundantly, and starting with
Mm.
loving yourself very deeply, knowing what is important for yourself, and trusting that if it's the right thing for yourself, then it's the right people are gonna stay around as well. So having this open conversation, communication, vulnerability is because you are like, I have nothing to lose. If it's not him, it's not him. If it's him, it's gonna, we are going to work this out. And I think it's by living more abundantly, and I talk a lot about abundance in general, but in love and with the love within yourself, it's gonna bring you to where Shannon is today, to even more deeply love connection that she never experienced before, and maybe some of us haven't experienced yet, but it's possible. So it's really moving into a mindset of abundance, and abundance is love as well. And one thing I would love to go more deeply is, on the dating process, I think we need to sell ourselves. And I know you have a background, a work corporate background, more into sales and marketing. How do you support today your client in the dating process, and how you can utilize, or you are utilizing your skills to help them to sell better themselves?
So I think what's most important in the process of starting to date and to really sell yourself um, is just being open and honest and using words that really convey a feeling of those things that you really want to attract in your life. So if it's fun and adventure um, and travel or deep intimacy, that you're able to express these things. And I think that it's really important to choose the right photos and to choose the right text in order to give a very brief but a fairly well-rounded image of who you are and what you're about and what you're looking for. So I think it took me quite a lot of practice to get it right, and I've helped numerous people be able to have the right message to find the right person.
Yeah, I think it's so important because, you know, even in business or in love or in we need, or when you go actually to interview for a job, you need to present yourself in a way that it's actually the right translation of who you are. And I love what you said, that utilizing the right word, but also the feelings behind all of that. And I'm sure I'm not the only one that feel like, oh, how do I do that? You know, and so always having help, and you know, when you need resources and coaches to support you to go to the next level, to understand what you don't know, it's always very important, because it's like you don't know what you don't know. I always say that. It's like there's no shame to ask for help, for external help, when it's something you've never done before, that you don't know, and it's going to help you to go faster where you want to go. So we are really, and I love the approach of Shannon in her coaching program and the guidance she's doing with women, because it's all about safe love. It's about knowing yourself. It's about, you know, dating yourself, being comfortable to be uh, on your own. And I really love that, because for me, years ago, I was scared. I always had something to plan. I always have social event. I was never by myself. And after a hard breakup as well, like almost 10 years ago, I needed to date myself. I needed to understand who I was. I needed to embrace myself and feeling comfortable being on my own. And now it's like, okay, how I shift to the next step? How do I embrace the now being someone that with my own standards? And when you feel like you have too much standards, you have a tendency to diminish yourself, to, oh yeah, but if I am too high, no one's going to show up. So it's really
Mhm.
I love how she brings people on the journey. And maybe we can introduce a little bit of what we are going to do in Bali together. So it's really the next step, the like deep learning, safe love journey, and the transition between your self love, knowing and journey uh, into before the dating program. So can you introduce a little bit about the experience in Bali, and what we are going to share with people?
Sure, absolutely. I think again it will start even before we go to Bali because we want Bali to be a culmination of the um, experience of having been able to connect with ourselves and know what we would really love within the form of expressing and feeling that love, deep connection within ourselves. And that's what we will do in preparation for going to Bali. And then in Bali, it will be really about creating the vision of what you really want to experience in a relationship. And even there with a number of really beautiful experiences that Lucy, you do just the most amazing experiences and a feeling freedom and carefree and adventurous. And it really, I think, will allow people to let go of the attachments to it and just experience what it's like to feel this deep love and connection with themselves and imagine themselves and feel what it would be like to be in this amazing relationship already while we're there in this beautiful energy of Bali. And then afterward, we want to be able to support people to continue the process, right? And to know how to express themselves when they're wanting to go online. And I know I felt like I needed a lot of support, and I made a lot of mistakes. But I had quite a lot of experiences, so I love to support people in the process afterward as well, so that people don't feel like, okay, I think I got it, but now I'm out there swimming and being a little bit lost of exactly how to handle certain situations. So we want to be able to support in the whole process before, during this beautiful experience in Bali that you can even share more about, and then afterward as well.
Yeah, Bali energy is really about grounding yourself and embodiment of this abundance within yourself. So it's really to feel abundant is to dream widely, to go to the next level of something you've never experienced before. So the magic of Bali is this: we are going to, I've been living in Bali for more than 7 years now, so it's home. I want to bring you home within yourself, and being immersed in an environment where abundance exists at so many different levels. You are going to feel deeply the abundance in love as well. And I think what I love in the journey that we have designed with Shannon is we love intimity, and we have limited the group to a maximum of 10 people. So it's really the journey of being taken care of, having two guides on your side, and just embracing this self-love journey. Because for me, it's 10 years ago, people told me, like, you see, you need to self-love yourself. And I'm like, oh, what does it mean? And it took me 10 years to get there, or maybe less, but it's a whole journey that I wish at the time someone had told me, like, this is the steps, this is what you need to do. And I did that journey mostly by myself. And it took me so long to be where I am today. And I really want to share more of what Shannon has been designing with a lot more people, because it's so important. And then adding the component of abundance that I'm bringing in with the dream and all of that. So both of us together, the combination is just extraordinary. And we are so excited for what's coming in. So if you are any interest for that, don't hesitate to reach out, send me a message, and then you will have also the contact of Shannon. I think to close up this um, this podcast, I would ask you, because I always kind of ask a question around finances. When we live abroad, you have been solo mother, and then in a relationship, um, how is your relationship with finances, and how maybe you had some conversation with a loved one in a couple? How did you talk about finances when you are two people?
No, that's a great question because it has been a really interesting journey. I've always been very independent, and my father told me when I was young, be sure you have a good career and you have your own money and don't be dependent on anyone. I thought that was interesting from a Mexican father, actually, to say that. Um, but that was always my mindset, that I had to protect myself, that I had to have my own money, that I had to be careful and not depend on anyone. And that's when you go in with that mindset, you go in with the mindset of separation, right? That you're independent. And just yesterday, I was talking to a friend who's should otherwise be a super loving marriage, but they do things separately and they're frustrated with each other because they think one pays more than the other. And so I really realized that when we got engaged, we made a conscious decision to discuss finances very deeply. And I can tell you it was really uncomfortable sometimes, really, really uncomfortable. So I would have loved to have some support with that. And I would love to be able to share from all the different experiences that I've had, this particular one, of how we actually ended up deciding, based on your own values. And he also came from a perspective of wanting it to be a team, that we actually made a conscious decision to combine our finances. But I wanted to be able to do retreats and other programs without having to consult him. So we decided to combine all of our finances, except a certain portion each month that would go into our, let's say, individual accounts. And that is, let's say, our sort of play money that he uses for his tennis and choir and ski trips with his friends and going out to dinner with a friend or the sauna. And I do the same with mine. But I never could have imagined, which I've never experienced before, but now in my 50s for the first time ever, we feel like a team. And now that we've been married for 6 months and doing it this way, we can't imagine having done it any other way, because we really feel like a team and it really feels together and it feels really abundant. And actually, because my theme in my development besides self-love has been abundant freedom. So everything about around abundance and love and in joy and fun and all of the different ways that you can have abundance. Not only, for sure, not only in the financial part is just a part of it. Let's say 20% of the other 80 is really just as important, about love, which is what we're talking about today. Because with that, I've also experienced, if you have a lot of money, but you don't have love or you don't have fun or connection, then your life is not complete. So basically, in this abundant freedom, we decided how to work with our finances, wanting to and making decisions together. We were thinking about, do we pay off the house? Do we do something extra with the finances? And just having always open conversations and about how we will manage our money together and feeling really like a team. Um, and also, of course, making sure we have similar values is really important. But that has been a cornerstone of success for our relationship, is that we had the uncomfortable conversations before we got married. And now it's been, very comfortable and easy. And I know that I have my separate fund and he has his little separate fund, and it's equal every month what goes in there on both sides. And we can just do whatever we want with it. And then together we decide together as a team. And yeah, it's something that surprised me, that I felt a little bit uncomfortable. I've never done it before, but I'm super happy because I've talked to several people that do it different ways. And the ones that do it together, the ones that I've talked to, I think are working really, really, really well. It feels really like a team and you're building everything together, and it just feels beautiful.
I just love what you share, because it's for me as well a big source of conflicts within a relationship, that people are ashamed of speaking about it or don't, but they have this frustration growing inside, and then one day everything explodes. But then when we bring communication and, taking the time to listen, to hear the other person and all of that, to share same value and say, okay, actually, we're not planning for the divorce. We are planning to live together. I love this, and team up for life. So I love that, because I really felt today that a lot of couples and my friends, they are moving more into, okay, we keep separating and stuff. And I could feel the pressure. I could, sometimes you become a mom and then you have, less income, but you're taking care of the family and all of that. So you are not getting paid for that officially. So it's all of that. Thank you for sharing your process. Thank you for bringing more love into love, I would say. So I can't wait to share your journey with the audience, and you will be able to reach out to Shannon as well if you want to
Mhm.
dig more into details in this whole safe love journey and a really love in relationship. We are going to close up this interview by a rapid five. So it's going to be a five question, and just answer in a few words. And the first one is, one thing you would love for your life.
Magic,
Ooh,
noticing the magic everywhere.
ooh. One thing you would love for the world.
The same. I wish that people could just really focus on the magic and the beauty in life, light and love everywhere,
Yeah.
every day.
Yes. The worst advice you have ever received.
You can't trust everyone.
Mm. And the best advice you have received.
Um, Opening yourself is really, really important. Opening yourself and breaking down the wall.
Ooh. And the last one, if you have a magic wand, what would you transform?
Ah, I get chills when I think about that. It's I would deep wish since I was a child was world peace. I just wish everyone could just embrace our differences and live in peace in the world.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you, Shannon, for these beautiful shares and all your advice. I think it's going to be so valuable for everyone that listen. So love,
Okay.
love into love. Love is in the air. And thank you again. And see you soon for the next episode.
Thank you.